All right, everyone, welcome back. You know how people always say, looks aren't everything?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, today, we're going to do a deep dive on that, get into what LSE matters when it comes to what men find attractive.
Okay, cool.
We're pulling all this from a podcast called The Lost Tapes.
Oh, interesting. The lost tapes.
Yeah, so it's like a deep dive within a deep dive.
I like it.
And it's really fascinating stuff. We're talking about like physical attraction, but also emotional stuff and even like sensory things. I mean, who knew?
Right. It's definitely more than skin deep.
So the first thing they made clear in the Lost Tapes is that physical attraction, it's just the start, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, there has to be that initial spark, that initial like, ooh, okay.
Exactly. But then they go way deeper.
Yeah, what makes someone attractive in the long run?
That's what I'm talking about. Like, that's where it gets really interesting.
Exactly. So the Lost Tapes was saying lasting attraction is really about connecting on a deeper level, like personality, a sense of humor.
Yeah. Being able to laugh together.
Exactly. And just having like a genuine emotional connection. Like you can be with someone that you think is like a 10.
Right, but if there's nothing else
Yeah, it fizzles out, right?
it's
It's got to go beyond just looks.
And you know what blew my mind? They got into how things like a woman's natural scent, like how she smells, and even the sound of her voice, like those things matter too.
See, now that is fascinating. Like from a psychological perspective, these are things that are kind of primal subconscious triggers. You know what I mean?
Right, things we don't even think about, but like are totally affecting us.
Exactly. And it goes back to like our evolutionary history and all that.
So break it down for us. How does that stuff work?
Well, for instance, a woman's natural scent, like her pheromones, are tied to her hormones. And, guys, well, evolutionary psychology suggests that men are kind of hardwired to be drawn to certain scents. Because, like, subconsciously, they're sending signals about fertility and health.
I see, right.
Right.
It really is. It's not just, seeing someone and thinking, oh, they're cute. There's this whole other level happening.
There's a lot going on beneath the surface. You said it.
It's like how they make you feel, right? On this, like, deeper, almost instinctive level.
Precisely. And the Lost Tapes actually mentioned some studies about voices. Apparently, men tend to be drawn to voices that are a little higher pitched, but also like warm and resonant.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like our brains are interpreting those vocal cues as like feminine, but also friendly, approachable.
This stuff is incredible. And then there's the whole confidence thing. They talked about how confidence and sensuality, like those are qualities that men find attractive. So what exactly did they mean by that? I mean, I get it in theory, but...
Yeah, I know what you mean. They gave some great examples, though. It wasn't just like being the loudest person in the room or, being super assertive.
Yeah, it's not just about being bossy.
Exactly. Like they talked about a woman who, carries herself with a certain grace, like she's aware of her body, how she moves, or someone who, isn't afraid to meet your eyes, to make eye contact, and really connect.
Right.
Or someone who's comfortable expressing herself, like her thoughts and her feelings, like not being afraid to just be herself.
So it's like confidence is really about like being comfortable in your own skin.
And that's magnetic. That draws people to you.
Totally. And it ties back to what we were saying earlier about like making a connection. If you're confident, it's easier to, be open and genuine.
Exactly. Confidence builds that emotional connection. And you know what else they talked about? The language of touch. Like how a woman touches a man. Apparently for a lot of men, that's a really big deal.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see how that could make someone feel like really seen and understood, especially if touch is like one of their love languages.
And it goes beyond just the physical feeling. Right.
Totally. It's more than just the sensation. It's what it means.
Exactly. Like imagine you're having a conversation, right? And someone touches your arm, just a light, confident, but gentle touch. Or, gives your hand a squeeze.
Yeah.
And like, those little touches, they can communicate so much, like they're saying, I care about you, or I'm into you even.
I love that. The Lost Tapes really nailed it, I think. Attraction is not just some simple formula.
Definitely not.
It's way more complex than that.
Yeah.
You've got these physical things, the emotional connection, and then, like we were talking about, our senses are involved too.
Totally. It's all intertwined. And what's cool is if we can understand these different layers, like if we can be more aware of them, it can really help us connect with people on a deeper level, and not just romantic relationships either,
Yeah.
Just like with everyone.
That is something to think about.
It really is. So think about it. How could understanding this stuff change how you interact with someone? Someone you're interested in. Just like food for the...
Dive into the shadows of human nature with the Lost Tapes podcast, where the truths hidden beneath our daily lives are brought to light. We uncover the layers of complex relationships, hidden emotions, and raw realities, from mental health to life's hardest truths. No topic is off limits, no story too raw. The Lost Tapes podcast is your invitation to understand the unspoken facets of life. Join us and let's explore life's hidden sides, one story at a time. Don't miss out on more hidden truths. Subscribe now to the Lost Tapes podcast. Stay curious. Stay informed. Click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to never miss an episode.
What really makes us tick, what makes us drawn to certain people.
Yeah.
And we're going to be pulling some insights, some really cool stuff actually from the Lost Tapes podcast.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, specifically part 2 of their episode all about these kind of taboo, unspoken elements of attraction.
I like it already. Taboo, unspoken.
Right. It's juicy.
Let's get into it.
I know, it's so good. And one thing that really stood out to me when I was listening to that podcast was their whole discussion of pheromones.
Oh, pheromones.
Yeah, like, is it real? Is this like a secret language we're sending out? What's the deal?
That's something that's always fascinated me too. That kind of like, almost like animalistic level of attraction, like beyond just what we see and hear, there's something else going on.
Totally. And the Lost Tapes people, they really dug into the research on this.
Oh, cool.
And it turns out it's way more powerful than we think.
Really?
Yeah, like we tend to think of pheromones just as like, smelling good,
Right.
But it's way deeper than that.
It's about like these subconscious signals of compatibility.
Oh, wow. Compatibility signals.
Yeah, it's great. So there was this one study, I thought this was so fascinating, where researchers, they exposed women to male pheromones while they were looking at photos of men's faces.
Okay.
And get this. The women consistently rated the men's faces as more attractive. But here's the kicker. Only if the man's face was already considered symmetrical.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's like the pheromones, they weren't like magically making unattractive faces suddenly hot,
Right.
But they were enhancing the perception of what was already there, what was already appealing.
It's like amplifying the signal.
Exactly. Amplifying. I like that it's like our senses are working on this level that we're not even conscious of.
It's like this whole hidden layer of communication.
Yeah, it's wild. And, and it makes you think, like, it's not just about scent, right? Like, think about all those other physical cues, like the way someone's skin feels, the texture of their hair, the way they move, all those little details.
It's like experiencing someone up close, not just seeing them from afar.
Exactly. It's about that feeling of closeness, and I think that taps into something really primal in us.
Absolutely, like a sense of comfort, familiarity.
We're wired to respond to these cues.
Yeah, it's like, going back to our caveman days, like, recognizing who's safe, who's healthy.
Exactly.
All of that.
And there's actually been some really cool research on this. Like, studies have shown that gentle touch, for example, can actually trigger the release of oxytocin.
Oh, the cuddle hormone.
Exactly, the cuddle hormone, which promotes feelings of bonding and trust.
And speaking of touch, I mean, that's
such a powerful thing, right?
Yeah.
Like a light touch on the shoulder, a hug. I mean, some people, that's like an instant connection.
Absolutely.
Physical touch is huge.
And, that ties in perfectly with the concept of love languages.
Oh, yeah, love languages.
Physical touch, it's one of the main ways people experience and express affection.
So for some people, that's way more impactful than, say, words of affirmation or gifts.
Right. It's their primary way of feeling loved and connected.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
So we've got these initial sparks, right? These pheromones, these subtle physical cues. But what is it that keeps someone truly fascinated, like wanting to know more about a person?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Like, looks might catch the eye initially, but
it's the personality that really captivates. And I think confidence is key.
confidence.
Yeah, and I don't mean arrogance.
Right.
But that sense of self-assuredness, like you own your opinions. You bring something unique to the table.
Like being comfortable in your own skin, right?
Exactly.
And I think there's like this mix of strength and vulnerability too.
Yes.
Like you're independent but also open and real.
Absolutely. And think about someone who's passionate about something, whether it's their work, a hobby, a cause they believe in. That passion is contagious. It makes them more interesting, more layered, you know?
And it feeds right back into that mystery factor you were talking about.
You want to unravel those layers, figure out what makes them tick.
Exactly.
And you know, another thing that I think plays such a huge role in this deeper level of attraction is those unspoken intimacies, you know?
I like that. Unspoken intimacies.
Have you ever noticed, like, how powerful it can be when someone truly listens to you? Like, they make eye contact, they respond with genuine warmth. It's like
they see you.
yes.
They really see you.
It's like they see right into your soul.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how these seemingly small things can actually create such a profound sense of emotional intimacy.
It really does.
It goes way beyond just the surface level, you know?
Absolutely. It's about feeling understood.
On a
And-
zipper level.
Yes, exactly. And it makes me think back to that whole love languages thing.
Like, for some people, that act of truly listening, being present in that moment, that can be just as powerful as physical touch.
It's all about creating that genuine connection.
Yeah.
Like you're on the same wavelength.
Totally. Wow, we have uncovered some fascinating stuff today.
We have.
It's amazing how much goes on beneath the surface when it comes to attraction.
It really is. And it makes you think, you know?
What qualities do you find most captivating in others?
Oh, that's a good one.
And how do you express those qualities yourself?
Ooh, food for thought.
I like it. Such a great point to ponder.
Well, thanks for diving deep with us today.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.
Looking forward to it.